Before anything else, the usual reminder. If you enjoy staying up to date with everything going on at Manchester City, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's free, takes just a second, and ensures you won't miss a single update. Here, we're committed to daily content, bringing fresh information on transfer news, behind-the-scenes stories, and everything related to the club. Make sure to give the video a like, too. Our goal is to reach at least 300 likes on this one. And of course, drop a comment letting me know what you thought of today's news. Now let's get straight to the point, because today is packed with important developments, particularly involving departures. Unlike other periods when the focus was only on signings, Manchester City now seems concentrated on getting the house in order and thinking about the future strategically. There's no one arriving at the moment, but there are plenty of players leaving. And that can actually be a very good thing, depending on how it's done. Starting with an official confirmation. Joel Ndala is packing his bags and will spend the season on loan at Hull City. We talked about this yesterday, but now it's all set. We wish him a great season with lots of minutes on the pitch because this kind of experience makes all the difference. The championship is a physical, intense competition with a lot of visibility. If he shines there, he could come back far more prepared, or even catch the eye of other clubs. And speaking of young talent, Max Alain's name also pops up today. Here's an important update. Fabrizio Romano confirmed that the player will extend his contract with City before going out on loan. His most likely destination is Watford, who are currently negotiating to bring him in for a season. The English club views Max's arrival positively, and City are fully open to the move. This shows how highly the club values its assets. Securing a contract extension before loaning a player avoids losing them for free and increases their market value if they perform well. But the list doesn't stop there. According to the Manchester Evening News, Jamai Simpson-Pusey is close to joining Celtic on loan. Another smart move, as he'll have the opportunity to play in a different league, at a traditional club with a European fixture calendar. Final details are still being worked out, but all signs point to an official announcement later this week. This is beginning to form a clear pattern. Manchester City is taking a well-defined approach, getting their young talents onto the pitch, even if not in a City shirt. The logic is simple. If there's no immediate space in the first team, it's better for these players to grow in other competitive environments, gain experience, and potentially return ready to contribute more solidly. Now let's touch on a more delicate situation, the negotiations involving James Mcatee. According to Jack Gaughan, City have made their position clear. They will only agree to sell if a buyback clause is included in the deal. This shows how much the club still believes in the player's potential, but at the same time, they don't want to risk losing him permanently for a fee they deem unfair. Initially, the figure being discussed was $25 million, an amount Nottingham Forest were reportedly willing to pay. However, when recalling the sale of Cole Palmer, who fetched $42.5 million for the club, City realized they might be undervaluing Mcatee. And it makes sense. Palmer had fewer professional minutes than Mcatee when he was sold. Both were in the final years of their contracts. So why accept less for someone with more experience? The board is indeed open to negotiations, but they expect concessions. If Forest want to keep their offer around $25 million, they'll need to include a highly favorable buyback clause or guarantee a significant percentage on a future sale. Otherwise, City may dig in and demand figures closer to what they got for Palmer. This type of deal requires tact and long-term vision. If the player wants to leave and doesn't renew, the club runs the risk of losing him for nothing next season. It's a game of patience and calculation. That's why, even though City hold technical leverage, the contractual situation makes things more fragile. And here comes a key question. If a bigger Premier League club were to offer $42 million without a buyback clause, would City accept? That's exactly what happened with Palmer. They sold without a clause, but for a high fee. The decision depends on the context, the destination, and the player's wishes. All of that comes into play. In the meantime, the wait continues. It's expected that Nottingham Forest will return with a new bid, since the first offer is rarely accepted. But it won't be straightforward. City will fight to protect their interests, even if it means sacrificing part of the transfer fee. Now let's move on to a chapter that's becoming clearer. Claudio Echeverri. According to journalist Mcatee, Girona are positioning themselves to take the young Argentine talent on loan. Earlier this week, there were reports that Roma were close to signing him, but Jack Gaughan refuted that claim. City's priority remains to loan him, but to a club aligned with the City Football Group philosophy. That's where Girona come in. They've taken several City players in the past. The expectation is that Echeverri will go there to get minutes and adapt to European football. And the name Vita Hayes, also known as Vitao Hyen, has come up in the same package. Another player likely to be loaned to Girona. It's worth noting that City have no intention of selling these players at this stage. The strategy is crystal clear. Loan them, observe and develop them, and maybe integrate them into the first team down the line. If not, they'll be more valuable for future sales, as was the case with Julian Alvarez. There's another name on the list, Zarion Nipan. Coming from a less competitive league, he's also expected to be loaned to a more structured European club. The goal is for him to grow in an environment of pressure, high standards, and intensity, and then return more mature. What's striking is how detailed City's planning is for these players. It's not about getting rid of the youngsters, but about placing them in the ideal conditions to develop. And that's where Lyon come in. As part of the deal involving Ryan Cherki's move to Manchester City, the French club is entitled to receive one player on loan. If Echeverri, Hayes, and Nipan all go to Girona, who will go to Lyon? That's still an unrevealed piece of the puzzle. Everything points to City already having a behind-the-scenes plan in place. Jack Gaughan reaffirmed that the club want to loan out these players to free up space in the squad, especially for European competitions, where the quota for non-homegrown players is tight. By sending these names abroad, City optimized their registration list while maintaining control over the players' futures. Switching subjects, let's talk about Jack Grealish. For a few days, rumors linked the attacking midfielder with Everton and West Ham. But according to Simon Stone, the Liverpool-based club is increasingly unlikely to make a bid. Grealish has already returned to training with City's main squad, and for now, there are no concrete moves for his departure. And now we reach a crucial part of the window, the goalkeepers, starting with Ederson. According to Jack Gaughan, the Brazilian will only leave the club if an exceptional offer comes in, something truly significant. With only 11 months left on his contract, it's unlikely anyone will pay a high fee now for a veteran goalkeeper, knowing they could sign him for free next season. What's more, being over 30 puts Ederson in an age bracket where clubs are generally less willing to make big investments. So everything points to him staying. One who could leave, however, is Ederson Ortega, and this is where things heat up. According to Transfer.com, Manchester United have approached Ortega's representatives to inquire about his contract details and availability. That's right. City's direct rival is considering signing their goalkeeper. And shockingly, Ortega is reportedly open to listening. After all, he'd still be living in Manchester, just switching training grounds. Now the big question, would City be willing to do business with United? It would be a rare move, but not impossible. If the offer is good, it could end up being beneficial, especially considering Ortega has a short contract and is aging. But undoubtedly, it's a transfer that would spark serious debate among the fans. What do you think? Would it be acceptable to sell Ortega to the rival? Or should the club block any possibility, no matter how financially appealing? If you've made it this far, leave a comment saying, "I'm tuned into City," so I know who's really following everything closely. And if the Ortega case still raises doubts and discord, what happened shortly after that move made everything even more intriguing. In the same week that Manchester United made an inquiry about the German goalkeeper, City announced the signing of James Trafford. And this isn't just any reinforcement. We're talking about a name with history at the club, academy-grown, born in England, and eager to prove he belongs in the current project. Trafford, just 22 years old, arrives in what feels like a symbolic homecoming. The homegrown son is back, and not just for marketing purposes. The board has high hopes for the youngster's potential, evidenced by the fact that he signed a 5-year contract. He's not coming back just to make up the numbers. He's here to grow, to mature alongside Ederson, and, in the not-so-distant future, to claim the #1 shirt with authority. Speaking of the number 1 shirt, that's exactly the number he'll be wearing, a seemingly simple detail, but one that signals the club's trust in his medium-term role. Ederson remains the undisputed starter, at least for now, but Trafford is seen as his natural successor. With the Brazilian's contract expiring in 2026, the plan is to groom James for the starting role by the 2026-27 season. Regarding the fee, there is a slight discrepancy between sources. Sky Sports reports the deal to be around $27 million, while the Daily Mail claims it could rise to $31 million with performance-related bonuses. In either case, it would set a new record for a British goalkeeper, surpassing even Jordan Pickford. But why pay so much for a goalkeeper who hasn't yet cemented himself as an undisputed starter anywhere? The answer lies in planning. City has learned, in recent years, not to wait for their young players to reach their peak at other clubs before attempting to bring them back. Instead, they've opted to reclaim the talents they developed, providing them with a nurturing environment at home. It's a kind of reconnection with their own roots. And more than that, if there's ever been an ideal moment to do this, it's now. With a squad that's still strong but aging in key areas, this gradual transition becomes essential. Trafford may not play every game this first year, but with every training session, every domestic cup match, he'll be shaping himself for what lies ahead. Perhaps what's most impressive in all of this is the calmness with which the club is managing this phase. Instead of going into the market in a frenzy for a replacement for Ederson or a high-profile goalkeeper, City has chosen to invest in internal development. That speaks volumes about the club's current mindset. Trust in the process, patience with development, and long-term vision. And speaking of signings, there were those who expected more moves this summer. Tino Livramento, for example, was once considered as an option for the right-back position. But according to Jack Gaughan, that possibility has now been ruled out. City will not pursue a new right-back in this window. Kyle Walker remains in the squad, holding undisputed starter status, and there's no urgency to replace him. This also helps explain why the club still has room to invest in January. The summer window was solid, with punctual and strategic signings, and now the priority is to fine-tune the squad, trim any excess, and prepare for the challenges ahead, especially in continental competitions. And of course, another topic that remains on the radar is the renewal of key contracts. One of the names most mentioned behind the scenes is Rodri. The Spanish midfielder has been one of City's most consistent performers in recent seasons, and the board is keen to secure his future with a new deal. Nothing has been made official yet, but talks are underway. The goal now is clear, to consolidate a solid foundation for the coming years. It's not just about buying names, it's about building a project, and that includes knowing the right time to sell, loan, renew, and sign. It's a delicate dance between present and future. And City appears to be mastering this choreography like few clubs in the world. Returning to young talents, this strategy of international loans reveals a more sophisticated philosophy than one might assume. It's not about loaning for the sake of loaning. The club seeks specific contexts for each player: a more physical league, a more technical competition, a team that values possession. Everything is thought out so that each athlete learns precisely what they need, and that includes a financial lens as well. Should players like Echeverri, Hayes, and Nipan fail to meet expectations in the first team, City will be ready to sell them for profit. And with the European market hot for promising youngsters, this could mean tens of millions of pounds flowing in, even if they never start a single match at the Etihad. It's a business mindset aligned with a sporting vision, a rare thing in modern football. And perhaps that's why City is always one step ahead. Another important point that deserves attention: the internal environment. All of this only works because there is stability in management. Pep Guardiola holds technical control, but he's also involved in the planning. The harmony with the board is a key factor. There are no public disputes, no contradictions in interviews. This transmits confidence to the squad and investors alike. And even with so many moves, the club maintains an impressive sense of calm. Instead of making rash decisions under external pressure, City focuses on what truly matters: keeping the structure strong, renewing wisely, selling with foresight, and signing with precision. But of course, none of this is possible without the fans' support. And that's where you come in. The club needs you more than ever. Supporting the youngsters going out on loan, cheering for them to shine, keeping track of their progress, understanding the long-term plan. All of this is part of the process. So once again, if you haven't hit the like button yet, do it now. It helps the channel grow and keeps bringing you these full updates every single day. And leave your comment. Which of these moves do you think is the most strategic? Who would you like to see return to the club in the future? And while City prepares the ground for the future, what stands out most isn't just the names involved, but rather the silent behind-the-scenes work that reveals how the club operates with almost surgical precision. Nothing is done on impulse. Nothing is random. Everything is anticipated weeks, sometimes months, in advance. Take, for example, the Lion case. Many didn't notice, but that deal involving Rayan Cherki included an interesting clause in the contract. The French club has the right to receive a City player on loan, but who will it be? So far, Echeverri, Hayes, and Nipan are being sent to Girona, and that raises a new question. Who is being lined up for Lion? Is there a name being kept under wraps? Could it be someone already integrated into the first team, but who may lose space with the return of injured players? These are questions only time, and the next few weeks of the window, will answer. But knowing City's style, it's very likely that the plan is already mapped out. All that's missing is the right moment to reveal it. And it's this mindset that sets Manchester City apart from other European giants. While many clubs still struggle to balance squad renewal with immediate results, City has specialized in doing both at once. While one player is shining, another is already being groomed. While a multi-million-pound sale is finalized, a hidden clause secures future control. This isn't just management, it's squad engineering, and the reflection of that is seen on the pitch. Just look at how the team manages to remain competitive even after losing key players. Sold Sterling, brought in Haaland, sold Mahrez, Foden stepped up. Lost Gundogan, Rodri took an even bigger role. And now, with names like Mcatee, Trafford, Echeverri, and others coming through, the cycle is set to renew again. But take note, this doesn't mean the club is free from risk. Quite the opposite. The upcoming season will be one of the most challenging in recent years. Not only because of rivals who are strengthening aggressively, but also due to the pressure of maintaining dominance. And that demands a squad that is both physically and mentally prepared. That's why every move, no matter how small, plays a part. A loan here, a contract renewal there, a calculated sale elsewhere, everything influences the squad's structure for the coming months. And don't be fooled. Even players who are leaving for a season can become crucial later on, either by returning to the club or being used as trade assets. Another key point, the psychological weight of these negotiations. Many young players see a loan spell as a test, and rightly so. Every match they play at their loan club is a chance to prove they deserve more. That's why it's vital for fans to support them during this phase, as it's essential to their development. Take Cole Palmer, for instance. When he was sold, many questioned the decision, but the sale, worth $42.5 million, helped the club balance its books and create room for other moves. The same could happen with Mcatee. City wants to protect its interests, whether through buyback clauses, sell-on percentages, or fixed future fees. Every detail matters, and the board's posture shows that learning is constant. In Palmer's case, there was no buyback clause. Now, with Mcatee, the board doesn't want to repeat the same mistake. That shows maturity. It shows the club is always evaluating its own actions and adjusting its strategy. There's no room for amateurism. And leading all this behind the scenes is Txiki Begiristain, the sporting director who, alongside Guardiola, has built this machine of victories and efficient deals. But even he knows that decisions need refining. That's why names like Hugo Viana have been gaining more prominence in the negotiation process. It's renewal behind the renewal. Meanwhile, the fans' eyes remain fixed on the pitch. Everyone wants to know if City will maintain the same standard this season. The answer will come with time, but the signs are positive. The club is more strategic, more organized, and more confident than ever. And that confidence shows not just in signings or sales, but in the way City is handling the silent challenges of the season. Physical preparation, for instance, has become even more rigorous. The club knows it will be a long, exhausting campaign. Injuries will happen. So will dips in form. But what matters is having enough depth to rotate the squad without losing intensity. That's why players like Grealish and Ederson are still being closely monitored. In Grealish's case, despite the rumors, he continues training normally with the group. And unless a concrete and convincing offer arrives, he stays. With Ederson, the situation is more delicate. He could leave for free at the end of the season if he doesn't renew, but he could also sign a new contract and end his career at the club. Everything is still open. For now, City is betting on stability. Ederson as the starter, Trafford in reserve, and Ortega potentially being sold. A secure structure that gives the club the flexibility needed to deal with any scenario. And here's a point that may go unnoticed. Despite all this market activity, the club has kept its core intact. Stones, Rodri, De Bruyne, Haaland, Bernardo Silva, they've all stayed. That's rare. In such a volatile market, keeping your key players is an achievement, and that comes at a cost. That's why the club needs to balance exits and arrivals carefully. Selling young players for good fees helps keep the stars well paid and motivated. Now, looking ahead, what to expect in the coming days? First, a clear resolution regarding Mcatee. Then developments on the loans to Girona and Lyon. After that, the possible departure of Ortega. And finally, any last-minute moves, whether a surprise sale or an emergency signing due to injury. If you want to keep up with all of this firsthand, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. Because from now on, every day could bring a twist. And drop a comment. Which player do you think will be the next breakout star of City's new generation? Who do you believe could explode like Palmer did? And which of these moves surprised you the most so far? This channel is for you, who love Manchester City, who live each transfer window like a chapter of a novel, and who understand that football isn't just played on the pitch. Here, we decode the behind-the-scenes, analyze the contracts, interpret the silences, and connect the dots before they become headlines. So turn on notifications, drop a like if you haven't already, and stay tuned, because there's much more to come. The next week promises big things, and you won't want to miss it.